Hello?
Hi, I can hear you.
Hi.
Okay,
Yes, perfect.
so now we are live on YouTube, and this is the YouTube link in case.
Excellent.
Okay, and we have some more people. Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Okay. Maybe we just wait for 5 more minutes, see if more people will trickle in.
Yes,
Yeah.
of course. Is the bulk of people from in Zoom or in YouTube?
Yeah, I just shared the
Where's the
YouTube link.
majority?
More
Perfect.
at the moment, we only have about, oh yeah, more people are joining it.
So when people post questions, will they post them on on
Zoom?
YouTube or on the Zoom?
I'm watching both of them, so we can answer questions from any of the two channels.
Okay. Sounds good. I can't watch the YouTube one, so
Okay,
if you don't mind, maybe you can read the questions. If you see questions on YouTube, like I'll stop and you can help me read them because I can't see them. Sounds good.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you.
Perfect. I do see some people on Zoom.
And we have more people. Hi, everyone.
Hey, Teju.
Hello.
Hi, hello.
Hi.
Can you hear me?
I can hear.
Oh, okay. That's good. That's good.
Good. Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you. And you?
Good. Thank you. I'm gonna put my camera briefly, although my internet's slow.
Oh, okay.
But
I can see you.
I'll say
Hi.
hi.
Where I am, I might not be able to put on my camera now because I'm somewhere that people around me. So I think I won't be able to do that for now. So I'm here and
No
really
problem.
learn from you.
Sounds good. Oh,
Hey,
thank you.
Luis.
I'm very excited to talk to you and everybody.
Thank you.
Hello. How's it going?
I'm fine. I must say,
I see people joining.
It feels weird. I'm usually able to pause and
Hello?
play your voice on tutorials, but hearing your voice live feels weird to me.
This is speak. Pause me.
Yeah.
gonna a little.
Hi, Luis. Can you hear me?
Hello, I can hear perfectly. Yep.
Okay, great. So I
Do you
would
want me to start sharing and put the part, but I can just share the screen. Yes. So do you see the title?
Yes. Yes. I would say we start streaming now. Let me, hi everyone. Welcome to our very first AI Sustainability Colloquium series. And today it's a privilege someone who have admired for so long to join us today to talk about one of the most important topics that we all have on our mind. We have so many questions about how do we navigate the AI universe, and it's such a pleasure to welcome Luis, and I'll allow you to take it away. Thank you so much for joining us, Luis, and thank you everyone for joining us today.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Tejumani. I'm very, very happy to be here. So yeah, it's a pleasure. I've been a fan for a while and happy to talk to you. So I have the chat right here. So please feel free to ask any questions or anything that you are interested. Give me 1 second. I'm struggling here with the screen. So here is actually about a year ago, or more like 2. This is NeurIPS 2019, where I met Tejumari and Sakinat and the people from AI Lagos. And I told them I was such a fan because I followed you on Twitter and I saw it you're so active. And so when I remember when I met them, my first reaction was, wow, I'm going to be really nice. And hopefully they'll invite me. I'd love to talk there. So I was very happy that I worked and that I'm here. So it was wonderful to meet you all there. First question is, I'd like to ask you, where are you joining us from? So if you don't mind, if you can put on the chat, on the YouTube chat, if you're on YouTube, or on the Zoom chat, I'll get to see the one on Zoom. I don't see the one on YouTube, but Tejumari will help me read questions from there. So please tell me where you're joining us from, and I'll tell you where I am. I'm in Colombia right now, just outside of Bogota, in the hills. There's coffee plants growing outside of where I am, and but I'm actually living in Canada. So let me tell you a bit about myself. So here's my website, serrano.academy, with all the resources. I invite you to take a look. Oh, I'm getting people answering. So I see Abuja, Lagos, Nigeria. Yeah, perfect. One day I hope to visit. Meanwhile, I'll tell you a bit more. Yes, I'm Colombian. I live in Canada. In my life, I haven't done AI all my life. I studied math first. I wanted to be a professor, so I taught for a while, and I did research in different places. It was fun, but then I discovered AI, so I switched to tech. I worked at a couple of places in Silicon Valley, at Google and Apple. Then I found out what I really liked to do was education. So I taught at Udacity. Some of you may have seen courses from Udacity that I teach. It was a lot of fun there. I'll give you links and stuff later if you're interested. And right now I've been working on different things. I'm working on quantum AI, which is AI and quantum computers. I really enjoy it at a place called Zapata Computing in Canada. I have a couple of things that I will be advertising, a YouTube channel with a bunch of videos and a book. Speaking about the book, it's called Grokking Machine Learning. And today I will give away 5 free ebooks. So here's the way to do it. And I'll repeat this at the end of the talk, but there's this link, bit.ly/freegrokml, or you can put your phone in front of the screen and get that, take a picture, and that will take you to the link. And so it's a link of a form to fill with your information. And one question is, what is your takeaway from the talk? And then with the Jose Lagos, we'll select people for giving you a free book. And if you, we still have a code, a free code. And I think I unfortunately forgot to put it right here, but I'll put it at the end of the talk. It's Serrano PC. I'll give you information about how to get a 40% discount on the book. There's also the YouTube channel, so I invite you to take a look and hopefully subscribe if you like it. It's youtube.com and then Luis Serrano. And there I put videos on pretty much all the machine learning topics. I try to make them very friendly. I am not a fan of formulas, and so I try to put it as more of a cartoon and a story to tell. There's deep learning, there's a bunch of different things. So I invite you to take a look. All right, so I have a question for you, and then let me read a couple more places. There's Boston, there's Lagos. Any interesting places that people come in the YouTube chat, Tejumare? Or meanwhile, I'll ask you a question. I'm gonna ask, what is machine learning for you? So what about you tell me in the chat what is machine learning? Question, can you all hear me well?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Perfect, thank you very much. So Barry says learning from data. Absolutely. It's learning from data. Any other answers? So I'll tell you what I call machine learning, what the definition that I have. I love this question because everybody has a different definition. The one I think of is common sense for a computer, because I think of how we make decisions, and we make decisions. Exactly. It's not learning from data, not from rules, not explicitly programming a computer. Exactly. You don't program the computer to do things, but you program it to learn from experience. So the way we learn as humans from our experiences, that's what machine learning does. And the experiences is called data. So it just learns from data. You don't have to program it. You just give it a lot of cases, and then boom. So a question, what is your favorite AI application? So I'll let people what one application. So system. And so a particular one that I used to work at Youth Foundations team. So we try to get the computer to recommend the videos that people will enjoy watching. So that's Netflix does recommendation, Amazon recommends products, etc. I see another answer saying identifying patterns from data and able to predict. Exactly. Ali says Google Assistant. That's a good application of ML. Yes, Google Assistant's pretty good. Medical diagnosis is another one where you try to be able to tell if a patient is sick or not based on their symptoms, right? Self-driving cars is one of my favorites. Just getting a car to drive by itself is fascinating. So many different problems to solve. Let's see. Odrefo says Alexia. Sharoom says computer vision. Grammarly, Tesla, absolutely. Yeah. Great applications. I like another which is beating humans at Go and chess. Gabriel says recommender systems like Netflix, absolutely. Fascinating when computers manage to beat humans at Go, because chess is easy for a computer, but Go is so many different combinations. There are more combinations in the board than atoms in the universe. So it was a pretty hard game when he managed to beat it. That was fascinating. Tiny ML, I don't know that one, but sounds cool. What is it? There are some very interesting ones that in Nigeria helping the communities, solving energy poverty in Nigeria through artificial intelligence. Things like applying artificial intelligence to provide with renewable energy and to identify the most impactful areas, places where you can make the most impact with a solar installation in Africa. There's another one that I found very interesting, is using NLP to try to make accessible the Nigeria's legislative bills to everyone. So this is basically any Hello, sorry that I lost my connection. Is everybody still there?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Perfect, thank you. So let me tell you about types of ML. This is things that you may know since you've seen a course and everything, but there's supervised learning, there's unsupervised learning, and there's reinforcement learning. And there's deep learning, which is kind of all of them. It's not really a field of AI, but it's using a particular tool called neural networks. So supervised learning is based on answering questions. So for example, there's medical, there's one second, I can't see the chat. Give me one moment, please. Sorry about that. All right. So supervised learning in these three is about answering questions, right? Yes or no, or different things. So answering questions in the medical field would be, is a patient sick? Yes or no. Answering questions in the car domain is, does the image I have in front of me contain a pedestrian? That's an example. In the recommendation systems, you can ask, for example, will the user watch this? Yes or no. Will they buy this? Yes or no. But you can also ask for how long would they watch it, or how much money they will spend on the particular product, or something like that. So there's two types of questions. There's yes/no questions, in which case it's called classification. And then there's questions which are answered with a number. So how much, and that's called regression. Then there's also unsupervised learning, which is more like simplifying data, right? So something like clustering, where you have all your users, and clustering algorithm will join them and say, hey, you know what? These two over here are similar, and these three over here are similar. And then there's dimensionality reduction, which is when you have a table with too many columns, let's say 1,000 columns, you can apply algorithms to simplify it to like maybe 10 columns, right? It's saying, without losing information, I'm going to try my best to simplify your data. So then there's reinforcement learning. Yes.
Can everyone see Luis?
Oh, my presentation went off.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
I'm
so sorry. I wasn't
sure.
So sorry. I forgot to start sharing again. Thank you so much for letting me know.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Well, I guess I was talking about supervised learning, right? Which is answering questions, yes or no, or how much. Then there's also unsupervised learning, clustering, which is joining different sets of data. And then dimensionality reduction, which is you have a table with many columns, and you can crunch your data and simplify it into less columns, so you can actually apply other machine learning algorithms. So I always saw unsupervised learning as something that helps supervised learning, right? You simplify your data. Then there's reinforcement learning. Can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Right. Reinforcement learning, which is getting a robot or an agent to do tasks. So you can navigate a maze, you can get it to an arm to operate things, and this is what they use to get the computer to play chess or games. It's reinforcement learning. So here's how I learn it, and this is obviously a generalization of things, but if you're going to learn, I would go first with supervised learning. It's the sort of the most common one and the simplest one. And then as you get more advanced, go to unsupervised learning, and then learn reinforcement learning, which is sort of the hardest. So in my head, I always saw supervised learning as the main one. Unsupervised learning was just helping. But then one day I saw this quote by Yann LeCun, one of the most famous people in AI. And he said the following. He said, if intelligence was a cake, the bulk of the cake is unsupervised learning, the icing on the cake is supervised learning, and the cherry of the cake is reinforcement learning. He said that in Rips in 2016. So I was fascinated by this, because he basically said the entire thing is unsupervised learning, and then supervised is just the icing, and reinforcement is the cherry. And I couldn't find a cake with a cherry, but there's one with a couple there, a wedding cake. So I thought, wait, I don't understand this. To me, unsupervised learning was simply a way to help supervised learning. It's a way to simplify data. So why does he say it's the most important thing? But before dismissing that quote, since it's Yann LeCun, I thought, figure out, I will see what he meant. And I think he was right, because unsupervised learning is humongous. So let me ask you a question about these people. What do you think these people have in common, these images? Help me out with the Help me out in the chat. What do these people have in common? So one thing they have in common says they are humans. All humans, they are all humans, all smiling. Smiles, yes, actually, it's a little have a face. I see the answers. Actually, it's hard to imagine, but these people do not exist. They are generated by a computer. Okay, they are generated by a neural network called generative adversarial networks. To me, that's absolutely fascinating. As a matter of fact, there's a page called which face is real, and they make you compete. They put a face of a person and a face that's generated by the computer, and you have to tell which one is real. And it's not that easy. So computers can now generate these faces, and they do other things. For example, there's one. This is called generative adversarial networks, and they can generate video. I don't know if you've seen the deep fakes of Obama, where some actor talks and they make it look like Obama's talking with the voice and the face and the gestures. Or cycle GANs, which can take, for example, a movie of a horse and turn it into a movie of a zebra. That kind of stuff is fascinating. And believe it or not, that is unsupervised learning. That is not supervised learning. And that is one of the most important things going on right now. And I'll tell you why. When you think of supervised learning, we think of answering a yes-no question, right? So if you look at the left, a yes-no question could be answered by saying, you know what, I think this is a boundary and everything to the right is blue and everything to the left is red. That's a question, right? So the question could be, can you tell if an image is a face or not? So it can say yes or no. That's easy, right? An image is a face or an image is not a face. A neural network can do that very easily. Unsupervised learning, however, learns the data, right? It learns, for example, here, the yellow points. It can tell me where there are more points and where there are less points. So in a more complicated case, it just learns how does a human face look, which is much more complicated because it'll be able to use this information to draw human faces by picking a new point in this distribution. So it's not just learning a yes/no question, it's learning to create. So for example, supervised learning, you could ask the question, is this painting a Picasso or not? Whereas with unsupervised learning, you can say, paint me a Picasso. And for humans, the left is easy, the right is really hard. Same for computers. And that's what's so fascinating of unsupervised learning. So let's see different tasks, right? There's the easy task of answering questions. Then there's the next task, which is, performing tasks, doing things, picking something up, learning to play checkers, learning to play chess. These are harder. And then there's a hard one, which is doing philosophy, right? Trying to understand the world based on what you see, trying to draw new art, trying to make new music, write literature. And so the first one is supervised learning. The second one is reinforcement learning. And the third one is unsupervised learning. So unsupervised learning is really the most open one. It's trying to just understand the data openly without any tasks. And so if you're looking at joining AI, all of these are important. Supervised learning is super important, reinforcement learning, unsupervised. If you're looking at what is the most cutting edge, I would say something unsupervised and generative, but of course at the end is anything you enjoy. All right, so that was the intro on what's AI. I'm gonna tell you for the rest of the talk more focused on what skills are needed for AI and how to develop them. So how to enter the field, how to study, how to, at least I'll tell you my way. But well, hopefully it's general for all of us. So things that we need for AI: we need math, we need programming, we need AI and data manipulation, and very important, we need human skills. So let me tell you about each one of them. These are the math skills that you would need. First of all, you would need probability, statistics, linear algebra, and calculus. I would say it's needed to go deeper. It's not needed at the beginning. But there's something very important that I want to emphasize, and it's that more than the math skills, I think the math intuition is important, and there's very different things. Because math, to be honest with you, it scares me a little bit, even though I studied it for many years. I'm going to go to Wikipedia and look for linear regression. Okay, and it says that this is linear regression, And then how do you solve it? Like this. I look at it and I get terrified. I don't know. So, but let's try to understand it, right? Linear regression is you have a bunch of points and they look like they're forming a line. And you want to draw a line that goes as close as possible to the point. So I'm going to draw this one. Is that a good line? Who can help me in the chat? That's not a good line, right? Yeah, thank you. That's not a good line. And a way to tell is that it's really far from the points. Those distances are big. So what I would like to do is move the line in such a way that the sum of distances is very small. That's it. That's linear regression, right? This is the line on the left. This is the distances. And this is the way to get the line. But notice that we don't really need all that notation yet. If you can understand it, that's fantastic. But the thing you need to know about linear regression is the line. And everything can be explained like this. Everything in machine learning can be seen as a simple technique. And so I invite you to not get stressed if the math is like formula, because that's just a way to write it. But if you capture the essence of the algorithms, and if I want to use linear regression, this is how you use on the computer, right? It's one line of code, regressor.fit. It's very simple. And so I invite you to actually start building it, start playing with it, start solving problems with it before you go into the formulas. And if you love the formulas, go for it. Which brings me to another thing. How technical should we be for doing AI? And the answer is as technical as you want. There's people who do AI who write zero code, and there's people who do AI who write code the entire time. So you can do, for example, something like product or project manager. Those have to know the project, talk to the engineers, talk to the clients, but they don't write code or very little. Data analyst writes a little more code, but maybe not so deep, but it's more in like the sense of analyzing the data, plotting, things like that. Then there's more technical, which is data scientist or machine learning engineer. That one builds models, analyze them, test them, etc. Then you can go to data engineer, which is very technical. These are the ones that maintain pipelines of data. And then software engineer, I put them like this, but this is my opinion. It's more ambiguous than this, but this is a representation. Software engineer is the more technical one that builds applications, etc. Researcher kind of encompasses all of them because you can be a technical researcher or a purely theoretical researcher. So I put them sort of overarching everything. Then let me tell you about a couple of packages that you would be using. If you're a product manager, you would use tools like Asana to organize tasks, etc. If you're a data analyst, Tableau and SQL are your main tools because they search in big data databases and they draw plots, etc. Data scientists will use things like R, Pandas, sklearn, or TensorFlow. The last three are all in Python. And data engineer would use something more like Kubernetes, those type of data pipelines. And software engineers could use Python, but they could also use Java or C++ in general. So it depends on where you're in the spectrum. You can decide sort of what job is for you. So if you decide to go the programming skills, I definitely recommend Python. It's sort of the one that all the packages are written on. You can choose whatever you want, but I recommend that one. There's NumPy for computations, there's Pandas for handling data, Matplotlib for plots, a few different ones for creating ML models, scikit-learn to create. For neural networks, we have TensorFlow, Keras, PyTorch. But of course, you can also go with R, you can go with C++, Java, there's packages for those. Feel free to stop me if there's any questions at any time during the talk. As I said, it's on the Zoom chat, and if you have a question on YouTube, send it. And Tejumar is kindly helping me scout questions, so feel free to ask it over there. So a big chunk. Yes, please go ahead.
To submit the form, do we have to wait for after the lecture? We can write what we've learned. During the lecture.
Absolutely, yeah. Yes, you can write what you learned, and you can submit it after the lecture. We'll give like the whole day for submitting it. Yeah, so try to do it as soon as possible. But after the lecture, so that you can know what what parts you want to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And I think and there's a link. It's in the chat. I will say it again at the end, but there's a link in the chat. So what is the main thing that data scientists do? I would say that when I worked as a data scientist, 95% of my work was data manipulation. So it's not so much building models, but you have raw data that looks horrible, and you want to make it nice into columns and rows, and fill the missing values, etc. So this is something that's very important. For example, how do you turn an image into numbers, right? You just put the pixels and the values of the pixels. So 0 for white and 1 for black and anything in between for gray. So figuring out how to turn your data into numbers and organize them and clean them and get them ready for a machine learning algorithm is actually the biggest chunk of what a data scientist does. Of course, human skills are important, and this I'll tell a little bit more at the end when I talk more about interviews. But when people interview you, they want to see if they can work with you, right? Can you work with others? Are you a team player? Can you handle difficult situations? Can you communicate ideas? These are very, very important things. So I highly recommend to work on those. They're called soft skills, but I think they're the hardest. But let's go more for what are the skills that we're going to need in the future? Because I get this question happens a lot of like, what should I get ready for? I try to look at the past when I try to understand the future. So I look at the past, and humans had manual skills, right? We were farmers, worked on things, and then the machines came, and they were very helpful, right? Because they could do the work for a farmer, for example. And it doesn't mean that farmers stopped existing. It means that they can do a lot more work. So a farmer can feed, instead of 4 families, 100 families with the work of one day, thanks to the machines. So what happened? That there were less farmers, and that people started switching jobs. And all of a sudden, there's a lot more doctors, a lot more lawyers, a lot more engineers, a lot more accountants, because we were doing what the machines could not do. The machines could do a lot of manual labor, and they were very strong at that. They could not do analytical skills. This is what's happening now, that machines are figuring out how to do analytical skills. They're not going to replace doctors or lawyers or engineers or accountants or any, but they're going to help them. And so all of a sudden, a doctor or a lawyer can do a lot more, can help a lot more people with the same amount of work. And so again, humans have to evolve and go to whatever the next thing is. So what do you think is the next thing? What do you think is we should work on for the next generation? Like what computers cannot do. So something that computers cannot do, the way I see it, is human skills, right? Things like ethics. Sorry about that. So what computers cannot do are human skills, right? So what are human skills? Empathy, ethics, compassion, emotional intelligence. These things are the questions that machines cannot answer right now. Machines can maximize something, right? We give them an objective, and they fulfill that objective, get here from point A to point B. But if they have to commit an accident, they have to are in a position of trying to figure out what is the least harm you could do if you lose control of the car or things like that, they don't know. So we need to do that. And so ethics in AI and empathy in AI are very, very important, and probably the next level of things that humans are going to do. So that's a picture of Timnit Gebru, very famous ethics AI researcher. So questions is, how are we going to learn these skills? But I'm going to pause. I'm going to pause for a second and see if there's any questions in the chat, since we're somewhere around halfway. Is there any questions or comments in the YouTube chat? Or feel free to speak up if you want to put your microphone.
Hey, Luis.
No questions? Yes, hi.
What is your view on AutoML, and how big of a part in machine learning role do you think it will take?
Sorry, say that again. AutoML?
Yes. What are your views on AutoML?
I'm not sure what AutoML is. What is it?
I think it's like an automated some automated programs that does pre-processing, that builds network automatically. I've seen some from IBM. I've just read it up on them. I'm not really
interesting.
That grounded in it,
Yeah.
but it's something.
Okay, that's interesting.
It's something I've been saying in some.
It's like a meta thing, right? Because you don't meta learners. Yeah, I think meta learners are very important. Yes, is that it?
Yeah, I was
Somebody
gonna say yes. Yes, it was me. Yes,
Okay,
AutoML, I think it's just like is explained. Meta learners is very related
okay,
to
perfect.
meta learning.
Yeah,
like just automatic.
yeah, I think that's fascinating because we're teaching the computers to train machine learning models, right? So they are learning not just one particular model, but they learn from a lot of them, and they start trying to guess what are sort of the initial parameters. So let me tell you how to learn these skills. So I'm going to tell you sort of how did I learn them? How did I learn these skills? Well, I went for free resources. There's so much free stuff on the internet. I think all I learned in machine learning, I don't think I paid a cent. But of course, there's a lot of online courses. The most it's like the trustee master's PhD. That's it's very useful. Have the opportunity, and if it's something that you find that you like, I can give you some resources on that. It's not absolutely necessary to do grad school to do ML. As I said, there's many ways to learn, but that's one of them. So online courses that I recommend, there's Khan Academy, and feel free to, if you have any resources that you want to suggest, feel free to put them in the chat as well, and I can recommend. I'm sure my list is not the entire list. Khan Academy go for all. There is obviously to work there. So some of the courses I teach, there's paid courses, but there's also a lot of free courses that I recommend to look. For example, there is this particular one called Intro to Deep Learning with PyTorch, and the link is down there. I'll be able to share. This deck will be sharing, so you don't have to write it down, but it's a free course on deep learning with PyTorch. So I recommend it. It's got labs and everything and Python. It's got the most popular courses. Andrew Ng has the most popular machine learning course out there. And you can pay if you want a certificate, but you can also audit for free. So Coursera, and Udemy has shorter courses that are made. Those very hands-on. Then YouTube channels. Well, obviously I'm biased, but that's mine. Feel free to take a look. There's some really good ones. 3 Blue, 1 Brown. I don't know if you've seen 3 Blue, 1 Brown, but it's my favorite math. You may ask some linear algebra, some calculus that are useful. My Rower, he makes group and to go to building machine learning models. There's one called which is really good. He does a lot of reinforcement and very, very good. That is a deep learning, cognitive reinforcement learning. There's deep learning by Ian Goodfellow, Joshua Benjo, and others, which is you can get a free PDF. And there's another one that I like. The last two are a little technical, but they're good. Machine learning and pattern recognition. Question: do you need a master? Is no. If you like to do research to look it up, it's called to look up opportunities. For opening doors is great. It's good to for me it helped me move to different countries. There's also online masters which can be pretty good. Big question in grad school is how to fund, right? How to fund it, and every place is different. Every country is different. Some countries is free, some countries very expensive. I recommend to always look at scholarships and apply for as many as possible. And some places do pay you for your PhD, especially in the US. I think you can do teaching assistants, which is helping a professor with the grading. You recommend. First, you learn all the algebra, calculus. Then you learn all the programming. Then you learn all the machine learning concepts. And then you start looking at applications. So they recommend a bottom-up approach, but that doesn't work for me. I actually like a top-down approach. So, for example, there's tackling energy poverty in Nigeria through artificial intelligence. So let's start from there. And let's say, what do I need to understand this? So you read the paper, and it says, the team looked at satellite imagery for the areas. So that's image recognition. Just watch a YouTube video on that. And it turns out that it uses neural networks. So let's learn neural networks. Let's watch YouTube videos on neural networks. Let's read some posts or look at some code and find out that we need to learn some linear algebra and probably TensorFlow and PyTorch. And so then I read a little bit more of the paper, and it says that the system identified clusters in Nigeria where renewable energy is most viable. So you need to learn some clustering. And clustering turns out that you need to do something like a scalar. So I like that approach of top-down because it's always motivating. And if you wait until learn the entire math, I haven't learned all the math there is. I studied for many years and I never learned the whole thing. I never learned the whole programming. So I recommend you to pick something you like, pick something that you're passionate about and that you enjoy, and go from there. So things about how to get a job in AI, let me tell you. So there are many different ways to get a job in AI. And as I mentioned, it's more based on your strength. You can do research, you can program, you can manage, you can teach, which is mostly what I do. You can analyze data, all these many things. So one thing that I really recommend is internships. So many companies. So you're actually there can happen here. I'm a member of Latinx in AI, and there's also great postings there. There's tons of this for companies. To people, yeah. That's recorded in later, and I will share my screen, my slides as well.
Hi, Louis.
Thank you for yes, hello.
Yes, I'm not sure if it's my internet, but it seems like
Hello.
you were breaking.
Oh.
Can everyone hear Louis okay?
What part? What?
Yeah, I think there's an issue with his internet.
Yeah, I think you were breaking for quite some
Yeah,
time.
I think it's my internet. How long?
Okay.
How much was I breaking?
It's just a
I'm
couple
sorry.
minutes.
Let me try something else.
It's okay. Thank you. Does anyone have question for Luis?
Yeah, I'm so sorry. What part did you get all the way to here?
It's okay now. It's very clear now, but it was in between. It was breaking, so I was trying to see if it was my
Okay.
internet or it was yes.
No, it's probably mine.
Yeah, but it's very
probably
clear
mine.
right now.
How far back should I go? Okay. Did you get this image? Was this image?
Yes.
Ways to learn.
Yeah. Yes, it's fine now. I think people are saying it's fine now, and maybe does anyone want to say what was the last thing they heard? How to get the job? Thanks, Jennifer. So maybe you can just run through that slide that says how to get a job in AI again, if you don't mind. Hi, Louis.
Should I go like 10 more minutes or?
No, I just mentioned that maybe
Yes.
we do.
Hello?
Yes, you're audible now. Did you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. That we.
Sorry
Hello?
about your internet connectivity issues. I can hear you now.
No, sorry about my internet. Okay, I'll keep going and you tell me when to stop. Okay.
Okay,
If
no
the internet is
problem. No
broken.
problem. It's good now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'll tell me if I get broken or in the chat. Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So, how do we get a job in AI? Well, one thing is there's many different ways. So you can be, you can program, but you can also teach, you can also research, manage, etc. And it's about picking what you like the most, right? So internships are very important, and I recommend the companies, like the big companies, have research internships to apply. Oh, it's too big. I shouldn't. There's also startups everywhere. And a good place to look for is Back in AI, Latinx in AI. There's a lot of postings, and here's a screenshot of one of a bunch of interesting postings. Also use LinkedIn to look for companies and write to people. Put yourself out there, and that's very, very useful. So how to get the first job? I recommend you to pay a lot of attention to the resume or the CV. There's a lot of templates, and make it one page, 2 max template. A recruiter can sometimes take 5 seconds looking at it for keywords. GitHub people, I would always look at their GitHub.
Louis?
Profile more because somebody may find it and use it or something, and the recruiters will look at it. Interviews, I'll tell you a little bit about later, but they're very important skills. And referrals are super important. Referrals are probably the best way to get into a company. If you have a friend, I recommend, or somebody you meet at a company, you can send them a message and say, hey, I know you work here. Could I get a referral? Here's for this particular job. People love giving referrals because they make money out of it. Many companies pay the employee that gives a referral. With someone, a company useful to have a referral from an employee because it's like a stamp of approval, right? So don't be afraid of asking people for referrals. Question: can I transition from some field to AI? The answer to this is always yes. Okay, I have worked in my teams with psychologists, engineers, sociologists, scientists. I even had a former poker player in one of my teams. Every job gives you the skills to do AI, and the reason is that we're trying to build computers that think like humans, but not just like programmer humans, like every human. So every single different human thinks in a particular way that they can inject that thought into the computer. So I cannot think of a single field that would be able to transition from AI if that's your concern. So many people have a concern saying, well, I studied something else and I focused on something else. Is it too late to go to AI? No, it's perfect time to go to AI. Okay. So some general recommendations is find an area that you're passionate about making an impact, something you like. I always like things like education, and also know your strengths and sometimes your weaknesses, This is a cartoon that I like. It says, for a first selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. But of course, the monkey has an advantage there, but that doesn't mean that the fish doesn't have skills. It just means that you have to find a place where your skills can be put to good use, right? And there is a job in AI for any type of skills. So I encourage you to look at that. I'll give you an example of me. Like I'm an okay programmer, but I'm not that great programmer. So I don't go look for programming jobs. I look for jobs that involve other things like teaching or data or things like that. So just know yourself and know what things you want to learn and what things you are good at, right? And also have a web presence. So have your game, as I told you, write Medium, write blogs, make YouTube videos. People love that, especially if you're documenting your learning process. If you're learning something and took a course and learned something, tell the world. People enjoy watching that. And the worst thing can happen is that nobody watches it, in which case it's no problem, right? So this helps others and it also helps you. But in general, I cannot stress this enough. Apply to everything. Don't leave jobs. Don't say, to this job I may not. Try everything and then decide later. Like once you get offers, then you decide. But don't make the decision before. And help the community. There's great ways to help the community. There's places like She Code Africa. Join your groups, Black in AI. They have great presence in conference. A lot of AI, and we always have the one right beside. And so it's really fun to sort of be part of your community there. There's Indaba, there's MD4SG, Data Science Nigeria, Data Science Africa, and of course, AI Saturdays, wonderful group. And there's a tweet here that shows that Nigeria is becoming a top hub for open source development. So keep an eye on these communities, join, help others, and they will help you. How are we doing with time, Tejumare? Do I have time for talking about a bit of AI interviews?
I believe so. We have about 4 more minutes, but please go for it.
Okay. I'll be quick. And this is all. I just want to emphasize that this is recorded and there are slides. So how to prepare for AI interviews. So there's different types of interviews. These are the same questions at the same time on the job. There's programming questions. There is statistics, probability learning questions. Then there's data infrastructure questions. And then there's human questions. As I said, different jobs give you different ones of these. Everyone's good at some of these and not at others. I am good at a couple of these and terrible at a couple of others. But that's why you pick, the jobs that have the strength that you want. So here are some general tips. I've interviewed many people at several companies, and the main thing they want is to imagine working with you. So the half an hour or 45 minutes of the interview, they want to imagine that they're with you working. So enjoy it. You will because they don't expect you immediately, but they do expect you to work it out. So you ask questions back and forth, talk to them. Research the company. It's always good to know what the company does. If you can research the interviewer, if you know they are, that's a wonderful thing to do as well. Write a follow-up interview. If not, you can tell the recruit forward a note asking them to pass a message to interview. Thank you very much. I really enjoy this interview. I look forward to it. Sets you apart, and if you're set apart, that will a lot of leverage. Program questions, things like stacks, etc. You have to know the algorithms like quicksort, merge sort, sorting algorithms. They will ask you questions in a board normally, or in a computer, where you have to write a program that does something simple. So, for example, a question that I used to ask a lot is write a program that takes a string and tells you if the string is a palindrome, so if it can be read backwards and forwards. So, for example, race car can be read in this direction, but also to the right, but also to the left. So that would output a true. But this word cannot be read in both directions, so it's outputs a false. So if you can write that type of program, that's a type of interview question for programming. Very good books. Practice that. Pull up that one is if you throw a coin 100 times and it lands in head 75 times, do you think the coin is biased or not? So that I gave away the answer there. It's I think it's no. But this takes if you study probability courses, probability statistics, there's ways to solve this. How to prepare for those? Well, Khan Academy is a great resource. Udacity, Coursera, all these have good courses. In particular, I really recommend this one. It's not taught by me, it's taught by some friends of mine at Udacity, and it's free. And here's the link. And it's a machine learning interview preparation. So it prepares you to a bunch of different questions with video, and it has quizzes, etc. So super highly recommended. for machine learning questions, you'll get things like theoretical questions. So for example, what's the difference between supervised and unsupervised learning? Tell me about this. Sometimes they actually send you a set and you explore it yourself and tell them things about it. How to solve this problem with AI. I have many times the company looks at their own problem. If it's our company that recommends things to sell, they would say, okay, how would you do this yourself, right? How to prepare Kaggle competitions. Kaggle competitions are very useful. I'll tell you in a bit more about it. Read Medium posts. There's a blog called Towards Data Science that I love. YouTube channels have a lot of information about this. Kaggle is sets, and it says sometimes they pay money or sometimes the active ones, but some of them are stored from before and you can still see how you did. And so it has the data set and says, build your own model and test it with our data. And so it's a great place if you have solved problems in Kaggle. You can use this in interviews. You can say, well, I'll give you an example of a problem I solved, this one on Kaggle, etc. So it's a great place to look at. There's infrastructures questions. These are the ones I do the least, but this is more like systems design, like pipelines, how to, more like heavy scale computing, servers, etc. I have a very good source for that. It's a YouTube channel by a friend of mine, Gaurav Sen, who talks all about system design, especially in machine learning. So I highly recommend it. And the last one is human. So sometimes they will ask you things like, tell me about a time when. And so they will say, for example, when you disagreed with the direction a project was taking and push a different direction. There's when you disagree with the direction, but still committed to the solution because you wanted to support the team. A time you overcame a difficult situation at work, etc. For these interviews, I recommend you to prepare. There's a lot of material online on like these type of interviews and have them ready. If you are doing this interview, the recruiter will tell you that that's the type of question you'll get. But definitely read about the company, what is their mission, etc. And I think I'm done. So final recommendations, as I said, find an area that you're passionate about. Just find what is it that you want to solve with AI, because that's the most important thing. At the end, AI is more than a field. It's just something that applies to every field. So find what you like and know your strengths and enjoy. Also persevere. This may be a long process, but if you're enjoying it, it may go very far. Showcase your work, show it to others. And don't worry if you feel lost. I feel lost all the time. And if you have imposter syndrome, then I welcome you to the club, because that it means you're growing. I think if you don't feel imposter syndrome, it means you're not learning. That you're growing, the sign that you're learning, and that you're it's becoming better and better. It may sometimes feel like you're in a place, job that you're so I need to if you feel it, take it as a good sign. I think that's all I have. So here's again the information for the book. Bit.ly scan here, and I forgot. If you want to buy the book, before you buy it, wait to see if you win one of the 5. But Serrano PC is a 40% discount code in the page that I give you there. So you have to do checkout. You have to put it in the cart and then apply the code. And yeah, pretty much this is a way to follow me. That's my YouTube channel. I think just so much. So
hello, Louis.
So I'll yeah, hello.
Hi. Oh, thank you so much for your presentation. I think you have 2 questions. One is Zoom. It says, can you go back to data pipeline tool page.
Absolutely. Data pipeline. Is this one? Is that the one?
Al-Bashir, is that the one? Okay. I think you said yes. Okay, is that okay now? Do you have a question about it? Maybe you just wanted to make sure that you got the channel name. So there's another question for you while if we respond to that question. On YouTube, someone asked, I was asked at an interview to briefly explain how I will determine the number of cars that will be bought. Luis, can you hear me? Hi, Louis.
Taja,
Yes.
could you copy and paste the question on the chat?
Okay. Was I breaking as well?
Number.
Oh, he is breaking. I don't think he can hear you. So if you copy and paste, I'm sure I'll be able to see it.
That's it. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I'm just gonna copy and paste the question on chat. Maybe you can quickly give an answer to that.
Perfect. Oh, the that will be bought. Sorry, they know.
I'm sorry, I think you're still breaking. Luis, can you?
There's a lot of those. Okay, sorry about that. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, it's better now.
Can you hear me?
Yes, that's good.
Okay, sorry about that. The question is, the interview question. Okay, the interview question is, how many cars will be bought in 2021? So that is a question. They don't want the number, they want your thinking process. So for example, questions like, how many ping pong balls fit in a box? Or you have to this question is, I would say, okay, how many people are there in, say, a particular country? Let's say a country with 100 million people. And I'm going to say, okay, how often does somebody buy a house? So that only adults buy cars, half of them, maybe 50 million. Maybe out of those 50 million, maybe half of them drive. So 25 million people in that country. And then let's say that how often does somebody buy a car in maybe years? So I divide by 10 and I get 2.5. Say that in that year, 2.5 million. So what they want to slowly calculate it.
I think you're breaking very badly right now, Luis. So it's maybe the person. Can you hear me, please? Hello.
Let me try some.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
If I'll be able to hear you more. Question about the cars. Was it?
Yeah.
Okay. I see another question. Can I read it?
Yes. Do you want to Do you want to talk about the question about the car again? I don't think the person heard you because you were breaking.
Sure, absolutely. So what they want to do is a rough calculation, right? These kind of questions of estimate the number of things, they want to see your thought process. So, for example, think so them adults. Well, let's adult not very. So 50 million. You can imagine. So maybe so 20. And then how many somebody you can make a rough estimate that is and so 25 million people getting a new means 2.5 million people buy a car that year, and that right? So you can, that's a rough estimate. Kind of the answer that no, still not.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm so
Thank
internet
you.
here is terrible. Let me try something different.
No, it's
Let
completely
me try something
fine.
different. What I can do, we can write them down, and I can answer
Yeah.
them in the resources. Right?
Yes, definitely. And then we will be sure to share resources, your slides, and every other thing you would like to share with everyone. So thank you so much, Louis, for joining us today. I'm sorry about your internet. I know you just traveled to Colombia, so it's okay. I'm sure our audience can understand, and we're really grateful that you were still able to join us today. And if there's any more question, please feel free to continue to put it on YouTube chat or ask Louise, follow Louise on social media and ask him directly. I'm sure I'll be happy to answer your question. Yes, we will share the talk materials with the people that are registered, because we have your details and we can share we can share the materials with you. So, and yes, any any questions from the audience? Okay, otherwise,
I would like to thank Louis, like personally, like
all right.
His videos have been so insightful. I remember Teju always shares your videos. She doesn't miss any opportunity to share your videos, like, and it's so insightful because I remember.
Thank you so much.
I remember going from learning like when I was learning SVM and I was really confused about the maths, and I went from MIT videos to your videos, and you're explaining how the SVM lines, like the data points are asking the lines to come. It was so like the intuition, I just got it immediately. Like I can't even put into words how to thank you. Like I'm just really grateful. Thanks so much for all you do.
Oh,
thank you so much. Thank you. That means a lot. Thank you very much for saying that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Your resources has been great help to all of us, myself included. I've constantly told you this. So thank you. Don't stop doing what you're doing. And I hope that we continue to collaborate with you. And I hope the internet agrees with us in the future. But yes, if you have any question, I'll be
Thank
sure
you so much.
I
appreciate it. Thank you for your invitation.
You're welcome. Thanks for everyone for joining. I hope you have a nice evening, and we hope to see you in our Yeah. Hello.
Please, I remember we talked about 5 free books. How do we get these books?
Oh yeah, we did share the link. I will, like, in the email that we send out as well. We'll have it there, and we'll leave the link open till the end of the day, and then we can.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your question. Bye, everyone. We hope to see you in our next colloquium, and have a nice day. Bye-bye.